Welcome to Get Serious. Kind of a fun episode here to spur the moment recording this one. So, I would just want to preface in that it's so easy to feel like, you might be falling behind or just never where your peers are, that you don't have the knowledge base or the skill set to, be as successful as you would like to be in business, and just the comparison factors and et cetera, et cetera. And like that never really goes away. Right. When you're running your own company, and it's just kind of the nature of entrepreneurship. And because again, like, you can just compare, I was, the 5 year ago version of me, if it saw the business we had built today, it'd be like, oh my gosh, like that's just, so much more killer. You guys have really done well. But, as soon as you're exposed to a new level, then it's like, okay, that comparison factor changes, and you realize that there's just so much more else that you can be doing and improving upon. And again, it's like, at least for me, can find myself just feeling, oh man, this is just, I'm just, feeling behind, and why am I not moving? Excuse me, as quickly. Let's see if that, if that makes it in the edit. Not moving as quickly as the other businesses in my sector, and the market is just tough, and just feeling stressed about your ability to make it. But what is that ability to make it? And so, or rather, what does make it even mean? Sometimes at least you can reassure yourself by understanding, okay, you can definitely be better than some of the businesses out there. Again, like, most businesses fail within a year of being incorporated. Like, I remember the stats, and this was a few years ago. It might even be tougher now, maybe easier. I don't know. Probably not much of a change. Where just to be in business, U.S. business, from the year, or a year after incorporation, like on average, it takes 7 tries of just starting a business to stay in business for just a year to even have better than a 50% chance of being in business. And like, who knows what that even means, right? Does that mean like the LLC is still open? Like, I mean, you could just be losing cash, etc. Like, I'm not sure if there's, zombie businesses, but like, that's such a low bar to hit. Like, open up a business, and all I need to do is stay open for 365 days. And on average, that takes 7 times to have better than a coin flip chance. Like, that's such a low bar to hit, and yet, like, that's the reality of the statistics. And then when you look around, sometimes I'm kind of reminded of why that might be the case here, or so many people chasing shortcuts. So, not to bury the lead here, but now I'm getting, okay, you kind of have the backdrop on what I might have been thinking about, or some of my mindset. And just more recently, like, it's just been much bigger problems in the businesses that I've just been feeling more stressed and down, and kind of paralyzed about. Harder to maintain that forward momentum. But then, sometimes I'm like, okay, I know I can be better than some of these businesses. So I was getting some of these calls from local 512 number on our open phone account, and just like most both private citizens and business owners in this country, it's like a lot of spam calls that come in. But occasionally I'll answer these, just like, okay, what's what might be the possible service here? It might actually be like a title company, something, I don't know, or it could just be like a open lead. So I'll try answering occasionally. And so, after missing a couple calls from different 512 numbers today, so I answered one, and it kind of gave 2 options. So it was like, if you want to show up in Google voice search, press 0 or whatever. If you don't care about that, like, press 9, something like that. So I selected that because we had started a new Google business profile after many attempts to get that done. So, like, okay, they're probably picking us up from that. Let's just see what this is. Probably not Google calling. Again, 512 It's very rare that Google will actually call. I have gotten a call from Google before, usually for like account security things. So there is a scam about that too. That's like the closest I've been um, near fooled by a possible scam. And I'm sure you might be seeing this too. It's like, yeah, your Google account's compromised. Um, you have to call whatever number here, because that's actually the way that Google has done that. I've had a legitimate one where there was security, and so yeah, there's scam companies that are trying to replicate that, and they've even had like Google show up on the caller ID. Like, it's a really sophisticated scam. So again, be careful out there, folks. But nevertheless, so I thought, okay, something related to Google voice search, and so I hit the let's check this out. And you could tell it was somebody in some type of call center, a lot of noise in the background, and they're just like into their pitch immediately, and just like, hey, you're Serious Land Capital, right? Like, you're not showing up in Alexa and Google voice search, etc. People will say that, and they tried to voice search your name 27 times in whatever week or whatever, and who knows, like that actually could be legitimate. And like, to me, I also just have a curiosity for other businesses and like, okay, how are they operating? What's the play here? Because, I try to market out myself too and what we do. And so I'm like, yeah, Serious Land Capital. But again, my hackles were kind of raised here. It's like, are you from Google? Like, what's the name of your company here? And they a little defensive. They're like, hey, no, Google doesn't ever call anyone. I'm like, well, that's a flag, because they do in certain circumstances call you. So that doesn't quite ring true here. And they were saying they were like from voice network, but it's a little hard to make out. So I'm on my MacBook and trying to search for them as I'm talking to them. And again, just instant pitch, and they're like, okay, we want to make sure that you're showing up here, so when people we can get you registered, so you're if people search or voice search for your name, like the hours and location, whatever, will show up, which again is like a little curious. I haven't, I don't routinely use voice search, but it's like, okay, if you have a Google business profile, like, why would you need to register with a third party service to just have like base info that shows up on a search engine? It's like, didn't really make sense there, right? Nevertheless, like, a little bit curious, at least continue forward in a couple more sentences. And again, like, it's interesting to hear like the pitch. I almost applaud the directness of just like trying to work a sale, even if it is like more scam oriented, which we'll get to, where they're like, okay, do you want, so Serious Land Capital, that's the name you want to register, right? So it's like already leading into, okay, yeah, this is the pathway we want you to follow. This is why you're on the phone right now, right? To get this registered. But I'm like still backing up, and I'm like, I'm again a bit confused here. Can you guys, like, can you name the name of your company here? Do you have a website? Can I check some reviews? Like, I'm not going to put money down until I can see. And then, and I had to kind of interrupt, because it was like, just, they're really trying to stick with their script and their pitch. So I kind of had to override even to get my voice in there, which, isn't like the best customer experience, right? And they're like, no, we only have a phone service. We don't have a website. We don't have any type of reviews available. Which, okay, reviews are one thing. Plenty of online businesses might not have that set up. And like, even Google Business Profile, like, you technically, if you don't have physical location services, you're not even supposed to be on Google Business Profile. Like, we had to kind of work around that a little bit to get on there. So sometimes I can understand, but like any business nowadays, like they have to have a website, right? Like, maybe the only ones that don't are, I don't know, maybe occasionally like home services companies or restaurants sometimes. But any tech service, like, you got to have a website, and like, it's just alarm bells going off right away. And so I point, hey, you guys don't have a website, reviews. I'm not going to put money down for something unless I can really review. And they kind of were, again, backtracking a bit. Yeah, no, we only handle all of our business services over the phone. And as soon as like I was saying, yeah, I'm not going to pay without being able to see that, they hung up on me. The the outreach to me here as the potential customer. So like, any of you listening to this, yeah, it's like, seems some type of scam oriented thing. They might be able to hook a few folks in for some bogus voice search network that you have to pay a monthly fee, and like you have no idea if you're getting any type of legitimate service. Probably not by the sounds of it. And then they were like routinely calling different 512 numbers every like 10 to 15 minutes. So like it triggered more of the activity. Like, okay, mea culpa for me to have answered that. But again, sometimes like natural curiosity. And sometimes there can be a fine line between legitimacy versus not. There's some sophisticated scams out there. And then I got like another call from a Houston area code number, so I answered that one too. And then they also offer a number that you have to call to opt out of being called. And so after probably like 5 or 6 of these calls, I'm like, okay, let me call this number. Maybe that is like that. The fact that you have to call a separate number just to opt out of like getting routine calls to your own line, like that's such a, again, bad customer experience here. And so I tried calling that number, and it was like, hey, no, this phone number is not available in the area that you're calling from. So it's just a dead end to even handle that. So then you just have to like routinely block these numbers. There's no other way to really get off of it. And hopefully they just go away after a while. So all of this to say, because I was just laughing about like how like it's just funny where, again, people will search for these shortcuts to just try to get some cash in the door and just like run these scams. But it's nevertheless, even what can be perceived as a scam. Like I wonder, the people who are running scams, do they, again, like when you look at like stories, does the villain ever consider themselves a villain? Like, does people running scams, do they ever really consider that? Or is it like, no, I just have like a very gray business and get people to sign up? And it's like, I don't know what's in the mindset of these, quote unquote business owners, but clearly they have some people working for them, call centers and stuff. So like there has to be some type of cash flow coming in. So it's like, do you even tell your team, like, this person answering the phone to me, I could tell they were human. Like, imagine the morale there. Like, yeah, I'm like showing up for 10, 12 hours a day. Like, I'm helping run a scam here. I don't think they can pull that off. Like, they must have some other, kind of perceived legitimacy built into that. And so all of this is kind of getting to my conclusion here, where it's like, okay, even if you really feel like you're struggling in business, or you just feel like you're always behind and there's just other folks that seemingly are just doing better, and tough market and crazy AI progress, etc., and like can just never feel fully caught up, just know that compared to some of these quote unquote businesses that are glorified scams here, like, you can definitely do better than that. Like, there is a low bar, very, very low bar, that if even if you get above that, like on your worst days, you can consider, hey, I'm doing something right here, compared to just atrocities. Like those are just corporate atrocities. There's no other way to describe it. Those people should be ashamed of themselves. Imagine, again, if you were the business owner there, like, how could you really feel good about yourself? Maybe you could just block off everything if you're just making money and scamming people, and you have no there's just like no internal moral repercussions. I don't know, could not do that. You're not providing any value from that perspective here. So I think it's a rare breed of folks who would even want to operate that way anyway. So again, just know that on your worst days, you can at least outperform businesses like that. And if you can do that, then you know that you can just do a little bit better than the previous day and the day before that, and continue to put one foot in front of the other, because at least you're not the very worst out there. So sometimes that's all you need to keep moving forward. Hopefully you found that story a bit funny. I'm sure you've all experienced something like that routinely, probably. So with that in mind, SeriousLand.capital for any of your funding needs, $50K minimum purchase price deals, Land Due Diligence Facebook group for zero cost review your land deals, and LandPricer.ai for the most reliable land pricing tool on the market. with that, subscribe and share, everybody. I will talk to you all next time. Bye.